Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Tiebreak. This is Aaron Kumar, and I'm delighted to say I'm once again joined by my very good friend, the editor of Cricket World, John Pennington. John, how are you doing today?
Yeah, very well, thanks Aaron. Vastly improved from last week, I'm sure everyone would be pleased to hear. So good to be with you once again.
Glad to hear it, John, glad to hear you're much better. John, it's been quite a busy week of sport, hasn't it? Where should we start? We'll start with the Test match. West Indies have had a decent performance against Bangladesh, and Chanderpaul keeps going, doesn't he?
Yeah, incredible performance from Shimron Chanderpaul. 80 knocked out in the first innings, then 100. Unbelievable his longevity. And I saw some tweets in his. I think he's batted at 5 and 6 quite a lot of his career, and who knows? Had he batted at 3 and 4 for longer, he may have scored even more runs and got better average, etc. But a remarkable performer, and yes, you can say, well, he performed very well against Bangladesh, and they weren't very good, but you can only beat what's in front of you, and he's been so consistent for so long. He really is a redoubtable performer, and West Indies will really miss him when he's gone.
Absolutely. I think we spoke, didn't we, JP, about the guy's 40 years old, and I remember him since he was a 19-year-old when Lara got his first record, and he was playing with Lara. And I mean, we have to think there's a possibility. I don't know how realistic it is, but if he keeps playing like this and he more and warrants his place on the Test side, his son has been, there or thereabouts, played a few games ago. I mean, maybe one day we could see the first ever occurrence of a father and son playing in the Test team, which would be incredible.
Yeah, it's unlikely at the moment, because if you look at Tajenarai's record, it's not all that great, so it would be quite a leap of faith from the selectors to sort of pick it even in a year or two, but who knows, because this Chanderpaul keeps on churning out the runs, and you look at the West Indies, they brought players like Kirk Edwards in, who's had a very bad series to keep things. I think they're going to need to stick with Chanderpaul for another year or two. So, yeah, if his son does do the business in domestic cricket, it could happen. But at this point in time, I'd say it's pretty unlikely, but who knows?
Sure. And JP, as we say, it's a great result for the West Indies. You say you can only beat what's in front of you, and it's a nice positive result at home for them. But a couple of the West Indians are over in India, aren't they, playing in the Champions League?
Yeah, it's a few more than a couple, but I think it was Andrew Russell and Sunil Narine who apparently decided to go and play in the Champions League rather than be considered a Test selection, which is absolutely fine, by the way. This almost repeated the read in the IPL, because the West Indies almost shouldn't, if you like, have scheduled a Test match to overlap the Champions League if it's given its own window. But the Champions League, I like the Champions League, but you have to always look at it with a bit of a caveat. Yes, you've got some top 2020 teams out there. They're playing some very, very entertaining cricket, but you've always got to remember there's no representation from England, there's no representation from Bangladesh, nothing from Zimbabwe. You've got 3 IPL teams, 2 Australian teams, 2 South Africans that get automatic entry, and you've got Northern Districts who've either been the best team in the tournament so far about to qualify. So it's almost a work in progress to the Champions League, but today you've got some superb cricket being played, and 2 of these very early games in the main competition showcase something that we talk a lot about, brilliant comebacks. You had Kolkata chasing down 160 after being 51 for 5 against Chennai. That doesn't happen very often. And then one day later, the Kings level about 30 for 3 and chased down a smaller target, but very, very quickly. So some really exciting action and some great comebacks, and let's hope that it continues to be as exciting here forward.
That's a very interesting stats you mentioned there, JP, because as you say, usually that's the thing with 2020, although teams stay in the games and it just takes 1 or 2 great performances sometimes to swing a 2020 game. I mean, that's a fantastic recovery, isn't it, from 51 for 5 chasing such a score. So, yeah, it is interesting, and it carries on from our theme of great comebacks, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, it does, because the thing with 2020 cricket, you get to that point and you've got no choice but to keep hitting. That's why sometimes, well, quite often you'll see teams fall out for 90, because unlike a one-day game, and we've got the one-day final at Lords, and Warwick are 40 for 4, but they'll get a good score because they've got time to recover. But you haven't got that time, so you just got to keep hitting, and sometimes it'll come off, but more often it won't. It's been good to see. Of course, the advantage that the Kolkata and Kings 11 team have, of course, they're experienced in Indian conditions. They are IPL stars, they have the choice of the best players, and they really are almost tighter knit teams in some respects than the others. So if teams are going to come back in 2020, you put your money on the IPL teams. We've seen the South Africans really struggle both yesterday and today, lost early wickets, and that's probably game over for them.
Sure. Yeah, so it's as you say, it is a work in progress, but it is a very interesting concept, isn't it? I mean, we know how popular it is in football. You look at the European Champions League. I think they're trying to go down the same kind of route, potentially, isn't it? Especially with the interest there is in 2020 cricket around the world. It's something that I think can get quite a lot of momentum.
Yeah, and look, it is going from strength to strength. It's been around for 5-6 years. So if we could get to a point where you find a slot on the calendar where English teams can go and play, you can get some sort of representation from Bangladesh, Zimbabwe. Who knows? Why not invite an associate 11 to turn up and play? See your best Irish, Afghanistani. Who knows? That would be an idea I was sort of thinking off the top of my head here. But if they can get all teams involved and make it a little bit more sort of meritocratic, I think is the word I'm looking for, then it could well go from strength to strength. Talking of tournaments that go from strength to strength and meritocratic, and the Davis Cup draw out this week for next year. Of course, we're already looking forward to this year's final.
Yeah, absolutely, JP. We've got some very interesting matchups in the first round. The draw came up for a couple of days ago. Most interesting from a British perspective, Britain have drawn the USA once again in the first round. Of course, that was a rematch from early this year, and that was actually Britain's first win in the World Group since 1980. So it was a long while. Much will depend on John Isner. He's America's number one. He's ranked 13 in the world at the moment, and he was missing, which it did leave them a little bit vulnerable, even though they were at home. But that should be a good tie. Obviously, Andy Murray has confirmed he's going to play, which is of course huge for Britain. There's a few other interesting ties in the first round next year, JP. You've got France versus Germany, and you've got Switzerland playing Belgium. So a lot of local rivalries there next year. As for the final, yeah, absolutely. It was Switzerland, as we talked about it last week. They were 2-0 up in the tie. They did actually rest Federer, which I think we both thought was a little bit surprising, didn't we, JP? They actually went down that route, but it paid off in the end. I mean, he managed to win his next singles fairly comfortably and book them into the finals. And the French were just dominant against the Czech Republic. So the match will be played in France. It's in November. They've announced it will be in Lille under a retractable roof, but they haven't named the surface yet. Now, if I was a betting person, I'm thinking they're going to go with clay because it's the most physical surface there is in tennis. Switzerland are essentially, although they have got a four-man squad, of course, they're basically relying on two men, Federer and Wawrinka. And Federer at 33, still a phenomenal player, but recovery for him compared to guys he's giving up 5-10 years to is not that easy. So I'm just thinking that the French might want to make it as physical as possible, make it hard for Federer to recover, and they've got guys they can rotate, they can use this. Then their squad comes into play a little bit more.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, and I know we sort of talked about this before, that clay probably gives France the better chances and maybe the better sort of all-round team, whereas Switzerland are very much going to be relying on sort of Federer and Wawrinka, I was struggling with his name for some reason, as we say there. And also, Lille's a fantastic place. I don't know the tennis venue very well, but as a city, it's well worth a visit. So, having done my bit for the Lille tourist board, early prediction from you, Aaron? I know it's early, so we don't know exactly the surface, but do you see France having enough to win this?
I know a lot of sentimental people there will want to see Roger Federer win, and I think Federer will be, not that he's not motivated usually, but this is the one thing missing from his resume, and probably he never thought he would have had the opportunity to do it. So it does feel like the stars are aligning a bit for him, but you just feel if it's clay the week after the World Tour Finals, which him and Wawrinka will qualify for, and there's no French guy that looks like they're going to make it for that tournament. That's another slight advantage for the French. I just feel that their overall strength in their squad for the French will probably give them a slight edge. So I'm going 3-2 to France, but we saw with the US Open how wrong we can be at times. And to say, JP, there's a lot of tennis been happening, and I just want to touch on actually as well before we move on with Andy Murray. I mean, I know he came out a couple of days ago and he backed Scotland for independence. We obviously know now that the result was a no, and we don't like mixing sport and politics too much, but Murray's been a great champion for British tennis. He's won 2 Grand Slams. He's been the most successful player in the Open era and one of the most successful from this country of all time. So I thought some of the abuse he got and some of the ribbing, I thought it was unnecessary. I mean, I think we've spoken about this before. I mean, you can have banter, you can criticise someone for their play, or you can say, have your opinion. But I think there's a line, and I felt that was crossed for a lot of people. I thought good on Murray for, he's been a great champion. He's not got involved too much in it, gave his opinion, and I thought, I'm hoping that come March when he plays for Britain at home, people will still be back supporting him, because there's no place for that really.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Everything you say there, Aaron. And he's entitled to an opinion, and he shouldn't be, abused in the way he was for having that opinion. I think he'll be absolutely fine when he comes back in March. There's enough time between then and now for everyone just to calm down and move on and get back to supporting him in what he does best, which is of course play tennis. He's always had this issue where if he wins, he's British, and if he loses, he's Scottish. And that's, again, that's not right. But that's I suppose a construct of the unique way that the United Kingdom is set up and remains set up. So that is very much something for another day maybe. But yeah, spot on with absolutely everything you say about Murray.
Great, and JP, you're talking about countries playing each other and team competitions. Let's look at some football. There's been quite a lot going on this week, hasn't there, JP?
Yeah, the Champions League sort of getting underway again this week, which is a much more meritocratic competition than its cricketing equivalent, of course. Interesting, not a great week for England really. Liverpool were very lucky to scrape through against the team they really should be good enough to beat. City lost to Bayern Munich, and Arsenal were well beaten by Borussia Dortmund, and I can't remember the Chelsea result off the top, and I think they drew with Schalke, which again was a result there that a game they were expected to win. So yeah, not a great week for English football. But I have to say, I watched the Liverpool game, and I just sort of got the sense that they didn't play particularly well on the night, but A, they got a result, and that's very important. B, I thought there's enough quality there, and maybe give them a few months, a few years, there could be a very special team there. So that's my little prediction there, that I can see Liverpool winning things again in the not too distant future.
And it's funny, JP, we talk about comebacks. Their comeback in the 2005 final, that has to rank up there, doesn't it? It was one of the greatest comebacks.
It was, but you going down 3-0 to Milan at half time, they were completely outplayed and turned it around at half time and got through on penalties. It was a remarkable performance and a remarkable comeback, as you say.
Absolutely, and actually I know we just touched on tennis, but we almost got a phenomenal comeback in the Davis Cup, didn't we, last week, with India 2 matches down, 2 sets to love down, 3-1 down as well, and they brought it back to 2 matches all. Lost the 5th match in the end, but that would have been, I mean, it's funny, isn't it, since we started this thing, you do take it for granted almost, don't you, some of these phenomenal comebacks in sport.
Yes, it does seem like since we started really focusing on it, they just seem to keep on happening, so it's great to see, and as we say, sport does throw up these sort of situations.
And don't forget, guys, that we'll keep it going for a little while because there's so much sport going on at the moment. So keep tweeting us in your best comebacks. And I'm going to go and do some research. Actually, some of you had some American football and some baseball. It'll be very interesting to go and research into exactly, because obviously we follow them, but it's a little bit of our blind spot here in the UK compared to some of the other sports. But to go and actually see what these comebacks mean and to research them a bit more, I'm looking forward to it. So JP, I mean, there's been a lot going on this week. I know we're going to talk about it a little bit more nearer the time, but we're going to be focusing on the Ryder Cup, aren't we, as well? Similar, isn't it, to the Davis Cup, but obviously with a continental kind of feel.
Yeah, it is. It's the competition that again has evolved over the years from being just Great Britain against USA to being Great Britain and Ireland, and now the Europeans. And again, it should be a fantastic contest this year. And as we say, we're going to be looking ahead in a little bit more detail later in the week. Who knows? We might have another epic comeback like we did in Medina a couple of years ago.
Absolutely. Well, guys, stay tuned for that. We'll put it on Twitter when our next little preview for the Ryder Cup is going to come out. Don't forget to keep subscribing and tweet us any of your questions on comebacks or your views or anything like that. JP, once again, thanks so much for your time today.
Not at all. Been a pleasure as ever.
And we'll see you all again soon.